Ho, 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 everybody!
Aaron, don't insult the audience.
And welcome to the 2024 Atari ST Holiday Spectacular. We've got, here we are in our snow retreat up in the mountains. It's beautiful up here, except for being trapped in the snow with you. That's not that good.
We have power issues with the lights in the back.
That's true. Well, I mean, you know how it is in the mountains. We got this lovely table setting here. That's where the gifts go. And in the background, there's a roaring fire for you people listening on the radio.
The fire is struggling.
Well, I mean, you're not great at the cutting the wood, if you know what I mean.
I don't think that's how fire works.
It is. That's what burns, you idiot. So, let's see, there's another one. So, anyway, ignore him. Welcome. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, and this is everyone's favorite Santa. It's the Brent.
Hi, everyone.
He's as jolly as the day is long.
I am pretty jolly.
Are you really? Are you looking forward to a fun-filled ST Christmas?
Yeah.
You are? How do you celebrate ST Christmas in the Brent house?
Well, I mean, we're doing this lovely show.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go home and only use words that start with ST for the rest of the evening.
Really? Can you say, give me a sentence like that?
Stupor.
Yeah, well, fair enough. That's what you'll be in, I'm sure, shortly after the show.
It's after the drinking.
Now, you know, speaking of drinking in the holidays,
all right,
that really dovetails nicely into the game we're playing this week. A traditional Atari ST Christmas game. We'll get into that in a few minutes. I want to talk about, before we got started, you know, I've been pondering this a lot. Like, what would I like under my Atari ST Christmas tree this year? And it's not going to happen, but it could happen next year. As we record this recently, the Spectrum has been released.
Yes.
I've seen many a influencer with the Spectrum in their hot little hands playing their little Specty games. We both like the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, well, a lot of people, it's like people didn't think there was going to be an Atari 400 Mini, right?
No
one thought that. And
no
the
one.
Spectrum Mini, and probably, I mean, that's even, nationally, internationally, that's even less well known than the Atari one. So
Sure.
I'm like, so you got that one going. Of course, you had the Amiga one, right? What's stopping the folks over there from getting up and getting together an Atari ST Mini? Is this something you think we're going to see anytime in the near future?
I would say what's stopping them is them wanting to make money.
Well, now, wait a minute.
Now, I don't think, here's the thing. We like the ST, right?
Yeah.
A pretty good system, does some stuff really well, does some stuff pretty well, and had an okay lifespan, not a great one, not a huge lifespan.
Yeah.
But in forms of popularity of Atari products, the ST way low for general public.
You're not selling the people on this.
No,
here.
but it's because I don't think it would succeed.
Oh.
I think that I don't think that the look is unique enough. Now you could probably gimmick it up to be a decent looking system, right? I think it's very replicatable. But what games you gonna put on it?
See, I've got an angle.
All right, let's hear
I've
it.
got two angles.
All right.
Are you ready? So let's ponder this for a minute. Let's go back to when
I know
the
obtuse is one.
when the Atari ST was first released, right?
Yeah.
Right around 1986, that era right
Sure.
there. right about the same time as the Amiga 1000. I mean,
Right.
85, 86. And the Atari was laying the smackdown on
Yes.
the Amiga, as you'll recall. Now,
because Amiga
for
was
about,
way too expensive.
for about 3 years, Atari ST was sort of the king dong in the 16 bits in the UK.
For about 3 years.
Right. And then Amiga took over. So let me ask you, what made Atari succeed in that limited amount of space? What made them succeed? There were two things.
It was far cheaper than its competitors.
And what's the other thing?
It was decent.
No. Here's the angle I'm working here.
Okay.
So it was cheaper, sure, but it also had the MIDI port, right? Remember the MIDI port? So
Yeah.
here's the angle. You release the Mini, right?
Uh-huh.
You charge $80 for it, and stick a MIDI port on that thing. Bam, sell them.
Who's gonna?
Oh no!
Who's
Think about
gonna
it.
buy a MIDI port? General public.
Musicians
No,
will buy
general
it.
public. General public.
No, but see, but here's the thing. General public, we don't like them.
Okay.
We need to sell this to people that are going to want
That's
an
a good
Atari ST. To them, the MIDI port are like, what's that, right? But and the thing is, the key is to sell it cheaper than the other ones because you get in there
Okay,
low.
so you've got a MIDI port.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What other port are you going to put on there to make the MIDI port
the rest of the
mean
stuff.
anything?
No, I mean, it'll be just like anything else. You can just put a USB hard drive on the thing. You're good to go. So you can have all the music stuff. That's a cool angle, right? Added bonus, you put all the best Atari ST games on there, and you
can't do that
Why not?
because they never have the license to put all the best
Right,
software.
but,
on
let me
one
ask you a
system.
question.
Yeah.
You're an AT license holder, or excuse me, an ST license holder, all right, for Atari ST.
Okay.
How much money are you making these days? Here's the
No.
answer: $0.
No.
Hold on, hear me out.
All right.
Hear me out. You get all the great ST exclusives, all right?
Okay.
You get Sundog, you gotta have that one. You get Crap Man, put that on there. People love the old Crapper, right? You gotta get Dungeon Master, that's not an exclusive. That was like the #1 game on the ST. Then you get a whole schmoz of Atari games, right? Remember you get Roadrunner and Tubin and some of the other ones we played on here. You get those on there. The Gauntlets, gotta have those on there. Get them all on there. Put about 50 games on that thing.
Uh-huh.
Plus, you put a little bit of software on there. Added bonus. That's for the MIDI. You see, and then you sell it. $80 out the door.
That would be the most colossal failure in MIDI history.
Why? Why? So you
can't-
don't think the ST's got enough popularity, say, in the UK to sell?
No, I don't. And it's not the ST's fault.
You know, I had friends here in the States that actually owned an ST. So, I mean, even people here had one.
Yeah.
Like, nobody had a Spectrum in the States.
No, you're right.
And I saw a bunch of people, like, shilling them online that were American, that were playing with them. So, I mean, there's got to be some crossover.
I think, I cannot envision a world where an ST would be marketable.
Uh-huh.
If you had some no-name company that could do a really nice ST shell, and you just sold the shell with you got the license for that, sold the shell with no innards, and just happened to make it fit like a Raspberry Pi or something.
Oh, that's lame.
You sold it for $25, $35. I think you could do that.
You'd see, that's crazy talk.
But
Is there a MIDI port involved in your version?
No, there isn't, because there's not enough general public calling for an ST machine. But you could get a specialist hobbyist type of group together that I think you could turn that into a profit, a small profit.
As Boat would say, we'll agree to disagree on this one. Now, added bonus question before we move on to this week's game.
All right.
You're the Brent, right?
I am. It's true.
You've grinched out the ST Mini, grinched that. But if you could have any Mini that hasn't been made, what Mini would you have them put down? It doesn't matter if it makes money or not. Maybe make it for you. Which one would it be?
Okay, I'm guessing you mean like console/computer.
And I'm going to try to, before you answer, I'm going to try to guess.
Okay, you mean console/computer,
Anything you want,
right?
anything.
Um,
Don't say it. I'm going to guess first.
Okay.
Because I know the answer.
Go right ahead.
Bam. Intellivision Aquarius. That's the one.
No. Although that would be kind of cool.
That would be great.
I would probably say the N64 Mini, but I know
that's the lame because that might happen.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't help it, man.
Can you? And also, the N64 is not that great. I hate to tell you that.
No, I agree.
Well, then why do you want it?
Because
that's the best you got.
Yeah, I mean, everything else, I would just emulate everything I need. I mean, you know what my first answer was going to be?
When I used to say that, you guys would yell at me, emulation, that's not what the minis are about. That's lame.
Oh, I mean, the N64 has a nice look, too.
What?
I think the N64 console...
The joysticks suck, though. They're horrible.
I mean, they're iconic.
They look like things you would use to, like, grapple and climb up a building, like Batman would throw up. Listen, there's only one answer.
Oh, I guarantee Batman would throw up.
There's only one answer to this question.
All right.
All right? And I'm going to tell you what it is, right?
Is it a miniaturized version of a baby Pac-Man?
No. God, no. Listen, everybody. What we need, what the world needs now to bring us together is a consoleized mini of the MSX2. We would all be laughing. We had more fun with the MSX on Thanksgiving than any man should. But
it also made me very angry.
Speaking of fun men at the holiday season, you know, we're not in Europe. You may be surprised to hear that we're in West Virginia.
Oh, God.
In the United States of America.
I know, I'm always surprised.
I am too. But in Europe, there's a tradition that dates back, it's older than time itself, Brent.
Yeah.
It's the traditional Atari ST game. And that's the game we've chosen for this week's Atari ST holiday celebration. Let's enjoy its theme song now. Everyone at home, sing along if you know it. I'm sure you do. Here we go.
You know what's nice about that theme?
Yeah.
Is you hear it for about the first 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much done. You can let it loop for as long as you want, but you get the point real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Because really, in all honesty, once you hear that once, it's stuck in your head, brother.
Well, I don't know about that.
Trust me, it's stuck in there. So as, of course, you've probably deduced by now, this year's Atari ST Christmas game is Targon. Targon, take me away. Brent, I know this isn't a traditional game that we normally played around this time. So this is Targon. Now that's spelled with a Han, as in Targhan, Targon.
You gotta flim the back to really get it.
Is that how they do it over there? This is a, it's funny. This was a...
It is funny.
This loading screen's funny. Targon just leaning up on the floppy disk of his own game. I love that. But
well, it's good to get 8 hours of sleep.
Targon, a game from 1989.
Yeah.
The Brent.
Pretty late in the game.
And, it's in there. And, of course, this is developed and published by... Silmarils, Silmarils.
I was told there'd be no spelling.
Silmarils. Yeah. I love you.
No.
Silmarils, mostly a publisher, and they published a bunch of stuff, including Mad Show, which we need to call them.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Dreamlands, Colorado, Magic Worlds, Manhattan Dealers. A few others, and but they didn't develop hardly anything. This is the only thing they were credited with developing on the ST, the Brent. And this is a one-player game where you, in fact, are in the role of Targon, and we'll get into his role in a minute. I want to talk about the people that were behind this bad boy. This game design for this thing was Christophe Fagois. I believe his name is a French fellow.
It's good to know who to blame.
Yeah, he was the game designer for the Ishar series and Windsurf Willie, which I'd like to play that somewhere down the line. The programming this was done by Michael Pernod, who also worked on the Boston Bomb Club. Me and Boat had that come up years ago. I had forgotten about that, but I'd like to put that on the list. Bunny Bricks. Crystals of Arborea, all the Ishars, Star Blade, and Transantarctica, which me and Boda played that one. The graphic artist on Targon is Pasquale Einsweiler. He worked on the same games, plus he worked on something called Robinson's Requiem and Storm Master, which sounds pretty good. And this will run on pretty much anything with half of a meg of memory. 2 discs.
Better with 2 drives.
Yeah. And I should mention, I thought this was kind of interesting. When I was looking at the pricing on this, this was released for £19, 99p
Full price
for the ST. But if you're buying this on the Amiga, which there was a Amiga version of this, that'll set you back $24.99. And if you look at the games, they're virtually identical. And one would say that the ST version probably I played
Plays
both.
better.
It plays a little quicker. So if this is one of those times where if you're an Amigan, you're getting screwed over by the man. I wonder why they cost more for the Amiga. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it has to be something to do with licensing.
I bet it was because they just wanted to make more money off there because there were tons more people, and that's why they sold it that way. So, what is Targon? It's described as a side-scrolling hack and slash action adventure game, and this thing appeared on, of course, the Atari ST, the Amiga, and MS-DOS.
Good old DOS.
Good old DOS. The DOS version looks pretty bad. There's a CGA/EGA version.
Oh yeah, that one does.
Not so good, Al. There were plans to release this on several other systems. In fact, I read about 2, at least 2. Believe it or not, they were thinking about releasing this on the NES and the Genesis.
On the NES, really?
Yeah.
89. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
I don't think well, we'll get into it.
And then this got re-released in '96.
Why?
But ours is not the question why.
Oh, okay.
It's a traditional game, even on DOS, because that's where it was re-released as an IBM PC CD-ROM. It was under one of those deals where you could get 16 games on a disc.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
I can see that.
Let me ask you a question. Did you read the documentation for this?
I did not. I did not feel as if I needed to.
Well, you didn't, but still, it doesn't make you any less of a bum.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this, but it's an odd story. So, of course, you play Targon, right? And you are a barbarian warrior from the village of Edengron.
Well, that's where they all hang out.
All right, so your dad settled the village, or your granddad, and then your dad and your mom were picked. They got together because it was prophesied.
Yeah, it was destined.
And it was the hottest and smartest and strongest people they could find. So it's a lot like our mom and dad when that happened. And then Targon was destined to be.
You noticed they had to try twice.
Yeah, Targon. His name means the one that comes home. Or comes back. So that's what the name means.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So
that's good D&D lore right there.
Oh, it's not that good, really.
Oh, I think it's good.
So Targon was trained by a wizard named Antha-On.
That seems like the dumbest training ever.
It sounds like a They Might Be Giants song. So Antha-On used to sing historical lessons to Targon to help him be wise. As eventually his father got old, died. Targon's running the whole kingdom. He's running it like a man, because he's all man, right? Because he's the ultimate guy.
Right.
So then he has these dreams that Antha-An is dancing and singing about this castle that contains the evil one, and you need to go take him out, basically. So Targan tells his wife to chill out, kid, chill out. Actually, I don't know if he's got a kid. I'm guessing. He gets some people to take over for him, and he heads through the mountains of Clorg and the forest of Lunaclair on his way to the evil one in the castle. Now, keep in mind, in normal adventures, the evil one comes down and screws with you.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first times we've ever played a game where you're the guy that's preemptively striking on the guy. He's just sitting up in his kingdom. And I'm thinking to myself, how evil can he be? You know what I mean? Because there's nothing in the documentation about him subjugating a world or trying to take over or building an army. So as far as we know, if you just, let's pretend I'm evil for a minute. It's just hard. If I'm sitting up at the camp for like 2 or 3 years, being evil on my own, but not affecting anyone else. Do I deserve to be killed?
Well, and what's crazy is it's not like he intercepted some plans. Like they're getting ready to take the village down.
Right.
They're just like, you know what? I had a dream this guy's kind of bad. Let's go kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's an odd plot. So with all that said, you play Targon and you take off towards the evil one, and that's where the game begins. Now, if you've ever played, I'm just going to throw this out here. If you could name any game you've played that just reminds you of, what would you say it was?
Barbarian.
That's incorrect.
Okay.
That also is dumb.
Oh.
The correct answer is Sword of Sudan, this is often compared to one of my favorites, by the way, as you know. And this has a lot in common with Sword of Sudan, except of course Sword of Sudan gives you the choice with a barbarian or a hot chick. Sword of Sudan doesn't have any like climbing or pits. It's all one straight level, so there's a difference from this to that. They both have big, beefy heroes that are big, huge characters on the screen. All the action's big. It's kind of lumbery, so it shares a lot of stuff with Sword of Sudan. And it was unfavorably compared to Sword of Sudan in a couple magazines I read. So you have, of course, your character is basically clad in loincloth or
wears no armor.
Armored, underpants and a pair of boots. What do you think about going out in the world just in your underpants?
Well, I mean, if you're going out to go kill an evil guy, I guess you gotta just wear the underwear.
I'm gonna make a controversial statement here.
You never.
Yeah, if you walk out of your house in a pair of fur boots, a pair of underpants, gauntlets with a sword, you're the evil one, okay? I'm telling you that right now. Well, notice that the evil one in this is fully dressed. So I'm starting to wonder about Targon. When this thing came up, Brent, your first impressions?
It has an incredibly awesome title screen. I really enjoyed the title screen.
You did?
Yeah, I thought it was really nice. And it had very, very repetitive music. So I thought to myself, I'm in for a 1990s experience.
You were right, more or less.
And you want me to go over my first few minutes of the game?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I thought, man, this guy controls really clunky. Because it's not that... I guess that's not completely fair. He controls like he's walking on a grid. When you take a step, you are either going to be moving to the next square or backpedaling to the previous square. He doesn't really feel like you can stop him where you want. You have to fulfill the animation. So I said, man, this is going to be a problem for combat. And I swung my sword a few times, I jumped around a little bit, and I started my adventure. So even though I expected the worst, I was still mighty impressed with the graphics, and I was ready to get into it.
I have as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Sword of Sudan. A lot of people hate on that game, but I love it. I'm talking about the Amiga version, okay? I've not played it on the ST, and I don't like the Genesis version, okay? So with all that said, put me in the furry boots and underpants of a big barbarian, I'm down.
Yeah.
I love games, and I don't mind games that kind of loaf around, like in their combat. Doesn't bother me that much. This game has what I'll also, once again, I'm going to use a Bodism. This guy's combat moves he uses Lionheart controls.
Yeah.
Hold the button down and move the joystick up or down, left or right. The funny thing is they didn't give him an overhand swing or anything like that. They, one of these. And so when you're getting accosted by like bats, you sort of have to wait till they come down to the ground before you whack them.
Right. There's all the strikes are in front of you.
He also does an incredibly amusing bit where he does a kick where he also puts the sword over his head. Now this is if you're not from the 80s, this would be foreign to you. But this is the classic, action barbarian pose.
Absolutely.
From the movies. And although when you see him do it, it's not that good.
Especially when you do it 7 or 8 times in a row.
I will say, you do repeatedly kick the bad guy in the face, which is funny.
It is.
I mean, if they stand there, they'll take it. So that part's funny. It's funny. I will say that when you come upon an enemy in this, they are genuinely as slow and as plotting as you are. And so it's a plot off, basically.
Well, I mean,
with there are a few differences. We'll get to combat here in a second. So, graphically, this has I would call it a subdued palette. This isn't going to blow you away with its incredible. It does not graphically set up the Sword of Sodan, but it does have a stylized graphical palette and the graphical style that I enjoy. What about you? What did you think
I
of the graphics?
thought the graphics in this were fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I think that the sprites, first of all, are huge.
Yeah.
Your character and 90% of the things that you face off with are human size or bigger.
Yeah.
I think the world has interesting character. There's some game design choices I'll talk about later that I think really failed the game, but that's okay. But no, I thought the graphics on this were fantastic.
I thought they were quite good. And like I said, if you don't mind the movement and you can get used to the combat, then you'll probably be okay. I mean, the thing is, this could have been. I wish the sword combat would have been a little bit better, but I will say the enemies aren't idiots. They don't just walk into your sword most of the time. And the enemies can be difficult to deal with.
Well, are we going there?
Well, I'm getting there.
If we're going there, let me know.
I like the graphics. I like the sound effects. There weren't a ton.
I mean, it's a lot of grunts.
Yeah, there were. Your guy also has a move where he goes like, and he kind of, I don't know.
Cowers.
Like when, for example, think of the exact moment that Nosferatu sees the sun. He goes like, You know what I'm saying? That's what your guy does, and he makes that noise. So
I think that's supposed to be a dodge. It don't work.
I can only assume they're trying to humanize a Targan in some way by making him, giving him that
by
maneuver.
humiliating him.
Well, I mean, you know how the Ric Flair will chop you, kick you, but occasionally he begs off. That's what Targan does. He begs off. So this game, aside from sword play, there's also some light platforming that you'll be doing.
Real light.
Well, there are places. Target has, if you hit up without using the button, he'll jump straight up, and if you hit diagonal up, he'll do diagonal left, diagonal right up. He'll jump.
Yeah.
He will. And you need to do that sometimes to get on different platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
When you start the game, they don't give you anything.
Yeah.
You're standing there, and you don't. So I figured out you can actually go left a couple screens, and you can collect stuff. So there are collectibles on the ground. Let's talk about this.
All right.
You occasionally will come across a collectible on the ground. You gotta bend over and pick it up without the button. Now, I played this game for several hours this week, right? And I never mastered the art of picking things up. I had all kinds of trouble picking things up. I did.
Did you play with a stick or keyboard?
I played with a stick.
Okay.
I played the joystick. Did you play the keyboard?
Yeah.
Well, that might be the thing. When you come across things you can pick up, they'll include certain things like potions, throwing stars, magical...
No. Throwing star.
Well,
not more than one. You get one at a time.
But you can get multiple throwing star.
Well,
so, there you go.
Unfortunately, you're putting them in your belt pouches, and you only have 6 belt pouches.
Yes, and so you've got you use the function keys to toss the various items, the accoutrement, if you will, or use a potion. There's also like a first aid kit you can get, and so these stuff like the throwing stars come in handy if you are, for example, fighting someone that has a range attack, or you're dealing with somebody you just don't want to fight because they're too mean.
Well, except that...
Well, if you have more than a couple.
I'll get into that.
But again, you have to stop using the joystick, reach over, and hit the function keys.
Yeah.
To get those to fire. What do you think about the old having to stop using the joystick to hit the function keys gimmick?
I'm okay with it. I mean, obviously, I would have preferred a different way of doing it, but it uses all of the button presses and joystick movements for combat, so it's not really an option.
Yeah, I mean, this is one game where they take as much of an advantage of the joystick as they can.
And really, the game is never fast-paced enough that it's like, oh god, I gotta hit this right now. It's usually like, okay, I'm gonna use an item against this guy.
It reminds me of like the way you would use the home version of playing like Spy Hunter. You know, like I want to switch weapons. I almost always have to use a keyboard, like
Yeah.
on the Coco or on the Amiga. So not too bad. Now, one of the things I found out early on is, so right when I first started the game, I just kept going to the right. That was I skipped over. I jumped over all the holes with ropes, fought everything I found. Then eventually I come to a statue of a guy who's holding this thing up in the air and looking up in the air.
Yeah,
skyward.
it's a religious statue.
I was like, what is that? Well, I didn't know what it was. So then I went back, and the next game I played, I went to the left and found the note, and it said, like, these are save points. I'm like, oh. So the next time around, I went over and dug the prep thing, and it saved my game right there. This is handy. If you get killed at any point, you can just hit the L button when it tells you to, and it will load your game back up at the last save point.
Yeah.
What do you think about that gimmick?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that you're certainly not going to beat your first time through.
No.
So
that's true.
I think the save points are the first one's kind of far away if you do things in the right order, but it's not horrible.
I agree. There are a variety of critters in this. Everything from bats to squirrels to archers, dwarves, demons. There are multitudes of different actual humans and humanoids, bird people, cat people that you'll fight. I even saw later down into the game, past where I got, stuff like dragons and huge freaking giants and stuff. So you've got some real interesting. They did a good job, I think, of mixing up. And you only fight, at least as far as I can tell, you're never fighting more than one or maybe two things on the screen once. I think there's a couple screens towards the end where you fight a couple things.
The bats they'll
not
send,
counting bats.
Yeah,
no.
bats they'll send multiple at a time, but other humanoids, no, you only fight one at a time.
I like what they did in this game because they took a standard torso like your guy, basically like a guy like your guy. Then they would put they would have a torso that was bare chested. They'd have one that had armor. They'd have one that had different type of armor. They don't have a shield or not shield. They don't have furry pants or long pants. And they just sort of mixed and mashed them, and you made probably 5 or 6 different guys with that setup. It works. It beats fighting the same guys over and over. I liked it.
Yeah, the enemies were very paper doll.
I like that, though. I mean, it was a little bit of a mix-up in there.
Sure.
Your guy can climb up and down. He can also fall and take fall damage, which you will do, and it'll hurt. And when he falls, it takes him a while to get back up if he can.
Yeah.
There's an interesting part of the game where you're sort of given the choice. Well, I mean, you ultimately had to do them both, but you're given the choice to whether you want to go underground or go up. And if you go up, curiously, so who lives up in the sky in these tree houses or whatever? It's a race of dwarves, which is unusual for dwarves. You'd think they'd be in the ground.
Well, I actually thought they might be gnomes.
They look like dwarves to me.
Yeah,
they were using double-headed axes and stuff.
Yeah, they could definitely be dwarves.
So, what did you think about the variety of enemies, the variety of different sort of screens, in terms of backgrounds and whatnot?
Well, I want to say that I eventually watched a playthrough
I did
of this.
too, yeah.
Throughout the entire game, I think the enemy variety is stellar.
Yeah, it's real good.
It does the paper doll thing for a lot of enemies, but it works. And not all enemies are paper dolls. If all the enemies were paper dolls, I would be annoyed.
Yeah, there's some huge guys and some cloaked guys.
Yeah, but they're not all paper dolls, which is nice because it gives you a very good variety.
Yeah.
So I think there's plenty of enemies. I think that the sprites for them are well done. Thumbs up for that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So let's just get to the dirty part of the game that you're probably going to kill is the combat. And when you engage in combat, what did you think of that?
Horrible. It's the most disappointed I've ever felt for a game in a long, long time.
Really?
Your combat decisions, even though you have 4 or 5 different strikes, depending on what direction you're holding and while you're pressing the button, the only one that will ever matter to you is the one that will stretch your sword out the longest. All the rest of them are a complete waste of time. I mean, occasionally, maybe you'll have a bat swoop in at an irregular angle, and one of the higher ones or one of the lower strikes will matter. But the bats do so little damage that it doesn't matter. You can run into the bats, and as long as you don't just let them feast on your body by not moving, it's fine, and you'll usually do okay.
You like this game, and what's your overall thought?
The combat is unfortunate. It kills the game, and it makes the game unplayable. If you're sitting down to play this, unless you can push your opponent back into the back corner and just repeatedly hit him where he's stuck on the edge of the screen, you're done. It's not going to work.
I'd agree. So, did you recommend it then?
No. And it's
Really?
unfortunate. I think if this game was slightly tweaked with better combat, you would have a much better time, and it'd be a much better experience.
I would have to agree with you. I guess the people didn't felt that way as well, because we didn't get any reviews of this one this week, so that happens sometimes. I actually like it. I think it's one you should give a whirl if you're so inclined. It's funny, the magazines were rather critical of this, and Atari Mania gave it a 6.7, CBG gave it a 55, and Ace gave it a 49, so it was sort of a burial for those. I did find a couple of these for sale. The prices varied because of the box size. The full box, they were wanting like over $100, so it's big money for that one.
Well, and the box looks really nice. It makes it a very sellable game. That's why it's on all those compilation CDs.
Fair enough. Well, should we see what we're going to look at next week, Brent?
What do we got coming up?
Oh, it's a boat favorite here.
Oh, Mr. Do
Run. Well, Brent, before we go, in the tradition of Targon, I know you've got me a lovely gift.
Yeah, I got you a little gift, Aaron.
Thank you very much. In the traditional Christmas bucket. Look at that. It's ballistics for the Atari ST. Thank you, Brent. In the interest of the game, I thought this was appropriate. This is a traditional Christmas cutlass.
Oh, wonderful. I've been meaning to get one of these. I really need to discipline my kids.
Very good. Very good, Brent. And we hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Hanukkah, whatever you do. We will catch you for the next Atari ST show. And until then, remember to play your
ST today.
Close enough.